About 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I called my buddy up and I was like, hey, I know you've been wanting to get a moose, and today's the day. And so we took off, started heading north. We've been flying about an hour. We're flying up this valley, trying to get over into this pass. There's these sort of 200 to 300 foot big old rock piles in the middle of the valley. Well, I think that the wind, the way it was coming down the valley, was basically going down the valley, hitting that rock pile, curling up, and then going back down. As you know, everything seemed fine, everything was great, it's beautiful, we're looking out the plane, enjoying scenery, and all of a sudden, I hit a downdraft, and it just starts taking the plane out of the sky. Like, we're falling out of our seats. In a situation like that, where you're gonna crash, like, you don't have time to make a ton of decisions. You have time to like make the right decision or the wrong decision. So it's like you're either gonna die or you're not. And you never really know which option you're picking in a crash. I just all of a sudden knew, like, I have to turn around. I have to get out of this, because I think I'm gonna be too low to continue flying this valley. And I'm probably just gonna fly right into the side of the mountain. But a downdraft really slows your airplane down. So you can be flying normal, everything's fine, and all of a sudden, you know, your airspeed can be good, and then just like that, you're super slow and like ready to stall. And so we're going really slow at this point. So I nose the plane down and I pick up a little bit of airspeed. I level back off 100 and turn 180 degrees hard to the right. Now in the right-hand turn, I stalled, and the airplane sort of just starts sliding out of the sky. And I just sort of told myself, like, this is not good. Like, this is how pilots die. And so I nosed the plane down again. I recovered from the stall, you know, gained a little bit of airspeed, finished my 180 degree turn, and I'm flying in the opposite direction down valley. And so at that point, it seemed to me like things were starting to come together, like we're gonna be okay. But it wasn't enough. This downdraft is still pushing us out of the sky. So as we're getting closer to the ground, I just kind of realized, like, crashing's inevitable, and we're probably gonna die. Like, nobody survives small airplane crashes like this. But I knew that I wanted to fly the plane till the last second, because I'm not the type of person that gives up. And so I was just like, you know what? Even if we're gonna die, I'm gonna make sure that I fly this till the last second and do everything that I can. People sort of always wonder, like, in those last seconds of life, like, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind? And for me, what came to my mind was my dad. Here I am, about to die on the side of a mountain, just like my dad. Kind of a little background. I grew up in a lot of turmoil. My dad died when I was 3 years old in a traumatic accident on Twin Peaks, where he fell over 800 feet and laid his life down for his friends. After my dad died, my mom remarried my stepdad, and my stepdad sort of was always putting me down that, you know, I was never gonna be anything great, and that my dad was just a chef and couldn't swing a hammer and didn't have these different skills. And so I sort of grew up with a burning desire to make my dad proud. I ended up finding myself out on my own at 16. My mom and stepdad divorced. My first night being on my own at 16, I slept in my truck in the fire station parking lot. During that time, I went to this construction company and I was like, I need a job. And they were like, well, you're 16. Everything we do is kind of more like an 18-year-old type job. You know, you can't operate any power tools or anything like that. But I was like, you know, I'll sweep floors, pick up trash, I don't care. And one of the guys on the construction company, they had a cabin in their backyard. And he was like, dude, like, you can come rent this cabin and, you know, have a place to stay. It was a dry cabin, you know, I had to haul water, but like, it was a home to me. And I was happy to be there. So I'm working construction. And at this point, like, you know, I was kind of down in the dumps, but now I've got this job, I've got this truck, you know, I'm feeling like I'm starting to get somewhere in life. But I'm always like in the back of my mind wondering, like, am I doing the right thing? Am I making my dad proud? That was just sort of was always been the question for me. It's not like you can just go to your dad and like, hey, I'm doing this. He's like, wow, you know, I'm proud of you. Like, I never had that ever. And so it's sort of just something in your mind. You're always wondering, like, well, if he was still here, would he be proud of me? And that really fueled me to sort of do a lot of different things. to try to like prove myself. I wanted to show the world that like Seth Shelden's like really gonna be somebody, like I'm really doing it. In some aspects, that's good, but also in another way, like you've got to learn how to do stuff for yourself. And I just got really burnt out because I was doing all these different things and it was just leaving me feeling really empty and unfulfilled. And I find myself out in the bush in remote Alaska working construction, sort of got into some different management roles where I'm running different crews and working a lot of hours, 80 plus a week. And it feels like prison to me. Like I'm staying in a man camp. I have no life. I rarely ever come home. And I wanted to do all these outdoor things in Alaska. You know, I love hunting and all these different things. And I also really wanted to become a pilot. You know, flying to different jobs out in different remote communities, you fly in a lot of different small planes. And it was just always cool to me. Like this is, you know, I was an equipment operator, so I operate equipment, but I was like, I wonder if I can operate an airplane. You know, like, is this something that I can tackle? And it seemed really far away to me, but I thought, is this achievable for me? So I ended up getting to the point where I'm just like, I can't do this anymore. I've made money, but like money's not worth it. So I resigned from my job. I come home. First thing I do is I walk into flight school and I get my private pilot. Immediately after that, I buy my own airplane and I start flying. Flying just totally changed my perspective on life. Like it felt like the first time, like I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm doing this because Seth enjoys it and it makes me happy and it makes me want to get up every single day and get out above Alaska and just shut my brain off and just fly and just soak up this beautiful state. And that's really what it was for me. And I just started doing it every day. It almost become like an addiction. Like every day I'm like, I'm going flying. You know, I fly out somewhere and I come back and I land and I feel like I've accomplished so much. Like as soon as you touch down those wheels on the runway, like as I'm taxiing back, I feel like I just conquered the world. And it's just, I know probably a lot of other pilots understand that feeling. I started realizing like, this is something that I enjoy so much, but like, I want to show other people. And so I'd tell my friends like, hey, let's go flying, you know, and we'd go throw our headsets on and hack life up and talk about problems and wants and dreams. And you come back and you realize like, man, my problems are so small in a real big scheme of things. You know, I just start thinking now, like, if my dad was here, like, would he like flying? Like, I'd love to take him flying with me, and just to like think of that, like being able to do that just blows my mind. You know, all thoughts aside, it's like we're still going down, and I sort of got to snap myself out of this, you know, what could have been to like what is happening right now, and that's the reality that like we're about to hit the ground and probably die. I finished the 180-degree turn and I'm flying in the opposite direction down the valley, and it just wasn't enough. And this downdraft is still pushing the plane out of the sky. So as we're coming down, we're getting closer and closer to the ground, and everything just sort of goes to slow motion. Right before we hit, I flared really hard, pulled my nose up, hit my tail wheel first, went forward to my front wheels, ripped those right off the airplane, and we're sort of skiing down the side of this mountain, and the plane turns 180 degrees, and just everything stops. And I'm just sitting there with my hand on the throttle, hand on the stick, and my windshield's gone, and I smell that sort of like hot engine smell and freshly turned up earth, and my ELT was sitting there beeping, and I'm just sitting there stunned and shocked, like, how are we alive? Like, am I alive? And I didn't want to look behind me because I didn't know if my buddy was okay or not. So I was just like, are you okay? And he's like, dude, I'm fine. I just told him, I was like, dude, you don't realize, like, I almost killed you, and you have a family and wife and kids at home. And he's like, no, dude, I'm fine. And, you know, gave me a hug and was like, you can buy another airplane, you know, but you can't get life back after it's gone. And right about then, I see a little stream of fuel just going from my tanks. And I realized, like, well, we survived this plane crash. Now this plane might catch on fire. And so I'm like, dude, we better get out. So we pull our seatbelts off, and I'm climbing out from under this crumpled up wing. And I look and I see my headsets are like 10 feet from the airplane laying on the ground. I was just like, how did those come off of my head and ended up outside the airplane? And I'm walking around perfectly fine. We grabbed our gear and I was like, we got to call for help. It's crazy because you can fly for an hour and come home and you never really realize in Alaska like how far out you are sometimes. You know, you can take a four-wheeler and ride it as far as you can, but you're still, you know, only a couple miles from home most of the time. But an airplane, like you're mountain ranges away sometimes. That feeling of sort of like being on the ground and feeling like I was 10 minutes from home a little bit ago to now like we're in the middle of nowhere is a really weird feeling. And so I gave him my phone and I was like, get on satellite and call my buddy or text him and tell him that we need some help. You know, we're not hurt, but we need some help. He words it like the plane broke down and we're gonna need a ride. And my buddy texts us back right away and he says, what parts do you need to get you back online? And we both started laughing because we're just thinking like a new airplane, like there's no parts that are gonna bail us out of this one. So we text and we're like, you know, nope, we don't need any parts, we need a ride. So the National Guard graciously came and picked us up in their Black Hawk. But this whole experience was very humbling to me because I sort of have been fed a lot by people I take with, like, dude, you're a fucking amazing pilot, like really blowing people's minds. And so like it can be really humbling to like bring back down to realizing like you're not ever gonna be better than Alaska. I think when you fly as much as I do in Alaska, you know, you're sort of bound to run into a lot of different scenarios of bad weather and just conditions that sometimes creep up on you. I think that it's easy sometimes to get a little complacent when you do it every day and, you know, you're used to just always making it home. So those are sort of the things that I've been kind of working through of like reminding yourself to not get complacent. And the other thing is like, I really didn't want to talk about this crash. Like immediately after I crashed, like what came to my mind was like, how can I hide this? A helicopter is going to sling my airplane from wherever I crashed and probably ferry it across Palmer. And like people know what my airplane looks like, people know me. And so I sort of had this ego at first of like, I gotta hide this, I gotta make sure that people don't think that maybe I messed up or maybe I'm not as good as maybe I'm not as good as I think I am, or I'm not as good as other people think I am. And then I just started thinking like, that's my ego getting in the way of an insane story that I'm very lucky to be here. And I feel like it brings so many things to the table for, you know, lessons that I learned myself, but also lessons that other young pilots in Alaska can learn. I think what I hope people take away from my story is don't take so long to start doing things for yourself. Don't waste so much of your life trying to please everybody else. Figure out what really drives you, what really makes you feel like you're pursuing your purpose, and do that. And don't let anything stop you. And don't let failure stop you. There's a quote I really love from Winston Churchill, and it says, "Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm." And that has really just become my motto after this crash, is no matter what, even if you fail at something, if it's what you love doing, don't let it ruin your enthusiasm. You know, this whole crash has really showed me like, I've got more life to live. I got more memories to make. I got more flying to do, and I can't wait for that.